All for one, and one for all. Keep biodiversity, or our future may fall.
Biodiversity is essential to human survival. Without biodiversity, no organisms would be able to live. Every single organism plays a huge role in an ecosystem, and if us as humans don't start taking action and realizing how important biodiversity is, we are in big trouble.
One example from class that we did was the Oh Deer game. In the game, the deer had to hunt for their survival to get resources. We started out having a non-balanced graph for 4 years straight because some deer would die because no resources were available to them, and some would strive and live. But halfway through our game, we decided to add predators into the mix. This brought a perfect balance in the population, and our graph became stable. This happened because now the predators, wolves, could thrive on life since they had prey, the deer. This also helped the survival of other species in that ecosystem because they didn't have to worry about predators eating them. As you can see, the wolves made their ecosystem balanced and brought biodiversity.
Everything in life is a cycle. For example, in class, we did a worksheet on the most important elements that cycle around us in our atmosphere. The cycles are the nitrogen, phosphorus, water, and carbon cycles. One of the most important cycles is the carbon cycle, which helps us organisms breathe and helps plants get energy. So how the cycle works is first we will start with a producer. The producer in our presentation is represented by a tree. The tree has roots in the ground that help bring nutrients to the tree through the soil. In order for the producer or the tree to get energy or food, it has to make its own through photosynthesis. In order for the photosynthesis to occur in the plant, it has to take in water, or H2O, and carbon dioxide. Since we have a producer, we have to have a consumer which eats the producer. Since there is carbon inside of the tree, the consumer also takes in carbon. But sadly, let's say that the consumer, or in this case the cow, dies, decomposers come and decay the dead consumer, which means that the carbon transfers into the decomposer, which gives the nutrients back to the soil. From there, the tree roots suck up the nutrients, which has carbon, and the cycles start all over again. One of the most important visual aids is the energy pyramid. The energy pyramid shows how energy is transferred through each of the niches. First off, the bottom of the pyramid is the producers, which makes up most of the energy because consumers eat the producers. Every single time there is an energy transfer through each niche, it only gets 10% of the energy. As you go up the pyramid, there are multiple types of consumers, which are primary, secondary, and tertiary consumers. But even though the decomposers don't have a spot on the pyramid, they are one of the most important niches on Earth. Without decomposers, our whole Earth would be covered with dead and rotten organisms. In class, we also discussed symbiosis. It is one of the most amazing relationships that organisms are capable of helping each other. Symbiosis can help both or one organism in the relationship. One class activity that we did was fill out a handout on symbiosis. What we watched was the green bees and the orchids. This relationship was a very interesting one because only one organism benefited from it, or otherwise known as commensalism. In the relationship, the green bee gets cologne to attract the female bees and the flower gets unharmed. As you can see, we need to have biodiversity in our lives because without it, symbiosis wouldn't have any effect without a variety of species.
Another class activity we did was make our food chains. Biodiversity is very essential to the food chain because there are so many food chains in different ecosystems. For example, there is the ocean food chain, the tropical rainforest food chain, and the desert food chain, to just name a few. Without biodiversity, there wouldn't be a variety of life. Also, for another class activity we did was our energy transfer and food web handout. For this activity, we had to take a group of common organisms found in Rincon Valley and show how each one of them are connected to each other. If life didn't have biodiversity, we wouldn't have enough species to supply the ecosystem's food chains.
An article called Marine Habitat Destruction by National Geographic states that tourism brings millions of boaters, snorkelers, and scuba divers into direct contact with fragile wetland and reef ecosystems. Ships and tankers can damage habitat with their hulls and anchors. Spills of crude oil and other substances kill thousands of birds and fish and leave a toxic environment that can persist for years.
In the article, Tigers in Crisis, it explains how human conflict puts tigers in danger. To protect tigers from poachers and the rapidly increasing loss of land, the government has decided to make wildlife reserves. But these reserves are isolated islands of forests, which makes the tigers have no chance of survival due to the loss of interdependence and the difficulty of meeting mates. But you can make a difference and save biodiversity. First, try reducing the single-person car use. You can try carpooling, public transportation, walking, or running as other options.
Another way to save biodiversity is to reduce, reuse, and recycle, with an emphasis on reduce.
Make a change and save biodiversity for human survival!